What's poppin', Bab Squad? It's your girl Bree Angelique, and we're back for another video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your hub for all things beauty, business, lifestyle, and motivation, and I'm so glad to have you back for another video. The Bab Squad is already at 13,000 Babs, and I am so proud of our growth. We are trying to get to 20K by January 1st, so if you like this video and you like my vibe, make sure that you subscribe, turn your notification bell on, and share this video with a friend. Today we're going to be talking about fear and how to identify it, how it manifests in our lives, and how to overcome it. If you're ready to talk about fear and dive a little deep with your girl while we get ready to film, stay tuned. So as you already know from the intro, today's video is a get ready with me to film, but we're also talking about fear. Now, when you hear the word fear, there's probably a few things that come to mind. We know that we have things that we are scared of, things that we're scared of doing, things that we're scared of experiencing, even places that we're scared to go. Fear can play a major role in our lives. Some can argue that there's nothing wrong with fear. Fear keeps us safe. Fear is just part of the human experience. Fear is just another emotion, and it's no big deal. It comes and it goes. But I would actually like to make the argument that fear does not have to be part of the human experience. There are things that we could do starting today that can change our lives for the better. But before we get into all that, let's get a definition of fear. My personal definition for fear is an uncomfortable feeling that comes about when we know that something is dangerous or something that could potentially cause us pain. I think that sometimes fear hides itself. So for example, avoidance. Not everyone is an avoidant type of personality. However, everyone avoids or procrastinates at some point in their lives. And I feel like we kind of don't look into it that much. We kind of see someone procrastinating and just assume that, oh, they're lazy, or they don't have a desire to get done what they want to get done, or their passion isn't there, right? And that could be true. But sometimes I feel like we are just in a space of avoidance because we are fearful of the outcome. However, avoidance is not the only thing that can mask fear. Anger is also a big fear masker. Another thing that can mask when we are feeling fearful is a genuine hatred for certain things. Well, the best example of that, I think, for myself is my hatred of math. I cannot stand math, right? And it's because of years of telling myself that math is something that I am just bad at and that I can't stand, and my least favorite subject, and all these things, right? I'm gonna clean up my brows with the CoverGirl True Blend Concealer. So give me 1 second and I'll be right back. So we've talked a little bit about fear in general, right? But now I want to make it a more personal experience and kind of let you in to see what fear looks like in my life. I think that fear shows up the most in my life in romantic relationships. When romantic relationships are kind of brought into play in my life, it freaks me out because I've had a few less than stellar encounters in my love life. So I think at this point I am like a little hesitant when it comes to establishing bonds with people. I have the fear that when I let people in, that they're going to disappear. And I feel that way because of trauma that I have gone through in my life as it relates to romantic relationships. I have a hard time believing that people are going to do what they say they're going to do, and that people are going to stay around when they say that they're going to stay around. I have a fear of being disappointed as it relates to relationships. So you see how I could have just said that I have a fear of relationships. I have a fear of dating. That got broken down to I have a fear of being disappointed. Another place that fear shows up in my life is in social media. So this one is a little interesting. I think that the social media one is interesting because of my line of work. I am an influencer. I'm always on social media. It wasn't until recently that I realized that I might be dealing with some level of fear as it relates to social media. It's obviously not a fear of Instagram or a fear of YouTube or whatever other social media it is that you're using. For me specifically, it would be TikTok. So it's not like I have a fear of these inanimate objects, these arbitrary apps. I have a fear of looking weird, looking corny, doing something that doesn't necessarily go over that well. I have a fear of embarrassing myself. So that is just another, you know, way that it shows up for me. And I feel like other people feel the same way. I feel like there's a lot of people who would create certain accounts or do certain things if it wasn't for their fear of not being accepted. Another way that fear shows up in my personal life is as it relates to business. I feel like I go through phases where some days I feel like I'm the absolute shit and I can do any fucking thing that I decide I want to do. And then some days I'm like, girl, the nerve of you to think that you can accomplish that. Which sounds bad, but I promise it's not as deep as you may think. And there are way more people who experience that and those feelings than you think there are. Sometimes, you know, just life, it gets you and you just don't necessarily feel like that bitch every day, okay? My fear ultimately in business is always a failure. I fear the outcome of certain decisions that I make in business. Now, obviously, I'm not saying this very lightly in the sense that this is something that I just know about myself and I don't have to work on and whatever the case may be. Like, no. All of my fears that I have, I am actively working to overcome. In my opinion, one of the best ways to figure out exactly what you're afraid of is by writing down everything that you think you're afraid of. I feel that addressing your fears is something that people with a lot of ego and a lot of pride won't be able to accomplish. It takes a very humble person to be able to accept and acknowledge that they are fearful individuals, and then it takes a very self-aware person to be able to identify exactly where in their life they're being restricted or blocked by fear. I feel like it takes a very special type of person to want to grow in this way because it's uncomfortable. Growth in general is uncomfortable for a lot of people. However, identifying what you're scared of and facing it head on, that's a different type of person. That's a different type of beast, okay? That task is not for the faint of heart. Which leads me to this point. Everyone needs a therapist. If you can afford it, if you have the insurance, you definitely need to get a therapist. If you are alive and over the age of 10, you need a therapist. Because fear is not something that is exclusive to any age group, any race, any ethnicity, any gender, any sexuality. Fear is across the board for everybody. Everyone experiences fear at some point in their lives. Sometimes it's very difficult for us to be able to navigate our low points and navigate our darkness without getting caught in it. So when you have a therapist or a spiritual advisor, someone who is objective and can look at your situation from a different perspective and offer you an educated professional opinion, that's what you need. You're gonna need it, okay? There is no replacement for a good therapist. God, obviously, but you know, if you want someone who is here with you in the physical realm that you can see, touch, talk to, then you're definitely gonna want to find a therapist. Some other like tips and tricks that I have for identifying and overcoming your fears is getting a feelings journal. Something my therapist recommended to me. So getting a feelings journal so that you can kind of identify what you're feeling every single day or every other day, however often you decide to use your feelings journal. It helps you to understand your feelings, understand your emotional process, and be able to look back on it and dig deeper. The last two tips and tricks that I have for overcoming your fears is saying affirmations to yourself that counteract those fears. For example, I have a fear of failure, like I said. So I tell myself, you are not a failure. You are doing your best. You're making steps every single day to get to your end goal. You are inspiring others. You're healing others while you heal. These are important things to tell yourself. These are called affirmations. It's just telling yourself a lot of positive things on a repetitive basis until you start to believe them, because once you believe them, you'll start acting in it, and that makes it come true. Self-fulfilling prophecies work both ways, negatively and positively. One of the most underrated techniques in any type of self-development is always protecting your peace. You want to make sure that the energy around you is not chaotic. You want to have people around you that encourage you and make you feel like the best version of yourself. People that make you feel like you can accomplish literally anything. If you have people in your corner that are kind of just draining you, or they are fearful, or they have lots of doubt or self-doubt, that's not going to do anything for you and what you're trying to accomplish, because it's going to keep you in this negative headspace where light is very hard to reach you. You want to make sure that the energy around you is peaceful and encouraging and uplifting. So the last thing I want to discuss with you guys is how fear can negatively impact your life. Fear really holds us back. I don't know if any of you guys watch Big Mouth, but when they brought out the shame monster and the depression kitty, those are examples of how intangible things can really affect our day-to-day functioning. Like, these are just feelings, these are just emotions, right? Sometimes they come, sometimes they go, but they aren't something that we can actually see or put our hands on. But the lasting effect that it can have on your life, that is something very tangible. When left unchecked, fear can turn into doubt, negative self-fulfilling prophecies, as well as comparison. Those three things you don't want any parts. When you doubt yourself, that is you deciding to be your very first hater rather than your very first supporter. It's you laying the groundwork for failure. I have to be honest with you guys, that's all that doubt is. Doubt is you not believing in yourself, not thinking that you are capable. Doubt and comparison are the breeding ground for all the nasty little bacteria that is going to destroy your self-esteem. When we live like this and feel like this, we are blocking and closing out our solar plexus chakra. Whether you believe in it or not, there's energy in your body that is directly affected by your thoughts and your actions, as well as the thoughts and actions of the people around you. When we don't take the time to work on our self-esteem and our empowerment, we are closing out our solar plexus chakra. It's important that we think highly of ourselves so that we are able to be highly functioning individuals. When we allow fear to live unchecked in our energy, we are really dimming our own light. And that's sad, right? Who wants to be this big, vibrant person with all these possibilities and capabilities and then dim your own light just because you didn't want to take 10 minutes to sit down and write out your feelings that day? You know what I'm saying? Or because you didn't want to talk to anybody about what's really going on with you, or because you are so set in your ways and so hell-bent on hating something that you don't realize that it comes from a deeply rooted fear of that thing. So I challenge everyone who is watching this video, everyone who is part of the BABSQUAD, to comment below a time where you felt like you were living in fear and what you did to overcome that. I also want you guys to just start to really be more self-reflective in your day-to-day life, especially for everybody who is a business owner or is a brand owner, or you do anything as an influencer. You want to make sure that your energy is always top of the line, and that way anyone who is following you or being influenced by you is always feeling rejuvenated and brave after talking to you. We want to open up our solar plexus chakra and be the light that we are, so that we can influence so many people and so that we can live our highest lives. Okay, so BABSQUAD, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I really enjoyed talking to you guys about real life things that affect more than just our pocket. We want to work on our mental health. We want to work on our mindfulness. We want to work on being motivated, staying motivated. So thank you so much for stopping by. If you were new here today, make sure you subscribe and turn on your notification bell so that you don't miss any of my videos. This is your hub for all things beauty, business, motivation, and lifestyle. It's your girl Bree Angelique. It has been great, and I will see you next video. Bye.